Now you have every government agency today you deal with, they give you an identity task. How easy it is to manage them. Every agency that you want to work with, you go on their website, individual website, you first search on the internet. Okay, this is the destination. You go there. It has a different kind of authentication mechanism. It has everything is different, right? Nothing is uniform, right? And you don't trust it inherently, right? It's not on the right platform. Maybe that small agency might have hired two college interns and got that, and you don't get that kind of sense of confidence, right? So let's say Bangalore one puts together this website where it says that this is a go-to place. All you need is a single identity, and then we'll take care of managing your relationship with all other things, right? So this is the kind of solution where what will eventually move to, right? Because it's not possible for us to maintain hundreds and hundreds of identity cards in our pockets, right? And so this is already happening in industry. The portal concept is very common, right? In large organizations, there are multiple departments and all that. So we don't go to each, everything is centralized into portal. And so it's going to happen in more and more public facing things also. So then what are the challenges with this, right? So one is this identity federation, right? You have a single identity to transact with multiple things. The second thing is, now for people, so some people don't even question security, they won't realize, but some people who are really careful about or think a little deep, they'll say, if an ICICI bank, if I am also transacting on the same page, my friend is also transacting on the same page, what's the guarantee that we can't see each other's transaction? No question, because we are used to that comfort, right? Without questioning, we actually have got used to that comfort. We assume nothing is wrong. But remember, all these programs are written by developers, right? Software developers. A mistake can happen. There can be a loophole which actually gives me access to my friend's account, right? It's just sitting there. It's to be found. Let's say it like that, right? So that's the state of affairs. But the common man will not question it, right? So there's whole thing called access management. You need to, in that portal also, there has to be a strong access management. There has to be a strong authentication. Before that person starts transacting, you have to make sure that you ensure that this is the right person. Right? There has to be that technology called authentication technology. The simplest form is password, and the most vulnerable one is password. And the more complex ones become the certificates or the one-time token and the biometrics, and then it goes on. So that's authentication. Then there is an access management. On the right, people should be allowed to. They might be the right people, but they should be allowed to access only the thing that they are entitled to. And there is segregated identity. So that's example number 2. And example number 3 is what we call protecting sensitive data. Now what does that mean? All of us, as I said, are generating a lot of information. Do we ever think about protecting it? Right? Most of our work is on laptops nowadays. We work at office, we work in the car, we work at home. Right? We don't see any boundaries anymore. Our emails are coming on iPhones, smartphones sitting there. Right? And a lot of information is put on public servers, sometimes to share with a friend. Right? Because I don't want to send 8 MB file on an email. So I share it on a shared drive, but I forget. Right? So why do I forget? Because it does not matter to me. Right? Right? So this is happening in organizations. So more and more you use the thing, you have to understand that a common person who is not IT person is obviously always going to use information like this. You can't raise a bar on that common person because it comes at a cost of discipline. So what's the solution? The solution is, so some of these solutions that are now emerging called data leakage protection, these solutions are about putting the hooks in all the points where the information flows. So there is DLP endpoint. Right? So all these endpoints, some DLP software will set. It will real-time analyze if you really have some sensitive data. If you have that and you are not the person who is supposed to have possession of that sensitive data, or this is not the right device to have that sensitive data, it will alert. We have DLP network. So all the wherever information leaves your organization, whether it's instant messenger, whether it's email, or whether it's website, you scan it for sensitivity, right? And then finally we have what we call endpoint DLP for data center. So all your data sitting in databases and storage, it will do an analysis and kind of pull out the sensitive data. Now it doesn't stop there. As I said, all these technologies are very, very initial stage. They are just starting point. They are not as intelligent as we want them to be. Why? Let's say just talk about DLP, right? DLP expects you, the data leakage protection, expects you to classify something as sensitive or not sensitive. Now is it an easy problem to solve? How would you do that? Obviously they are doing it at some level, where all vendors are claiming that we do it in some sense and all. It's a hard problem. So the same thing, like SIEM, how do you deal with this vast amount of data, right? So there are access management I talked about. Who is going to sit and write all these rules about who has access to what? Right? So all of them are early stages and unsolved problems, and the way infrastructure is moving, we are generating the unsolved problems at a faster rate than our ability to actually solve them. So it's all interesting. So I think that's pretty much I have. I had a few interesting things, like for common person, the person who are not initiated into security or information technology, I thought I will probably present some real world examples of why is security hard. Right? It's not easy. So example number one is really what's the difference between securing a diamond and securing a president? They can't be same, right? President has to move around in the city. President has to fly in the air. President has to go and shake hands with common men. They can be militants. Right? President moves in the foreign land where you don't have any control on what can be secured. Right? So that's trivia number one. The trivia number two is really this, right? This is a chart which shows all the vaccinations that we give to the kids below 6 years. Right? Have you ever seen a parent questioning what the ROI of this vaccine is? If parents can afford, they will give it. Right? Right? But that's a state of, like, when you are trying to apply security, people are asking, what's the ROI? And it's kind of hard to answer that question, right? Are you going to wait for something to happen before you're actually going to prevent it? And can somebody really meaningfully tell you what's your vulnerability? Then it be measured. And the last one is really, what's the difference between these two? These are both control panels. The control panel on the left is what pilot uses to maneuver the plane. And the one on the right hand side is what we use day to day to drive our cars. What's the difference between those two? Apart from the fact that who uses them, is the design, right? If our cars were looking like this, how many cars do you think will be on the road? Right? So that sets the context of security. Security solutions have to be designed in context of what you are trying to secure, what's the vulnerability kind of thing. They have to be usable. And it's going to be harder and harder. I think cultural shift will happen in terms of putting security up front rather than actually patching up later. People will probably ask lesser and lesser questions about ROI because it will obviously be part of the system. They are not in terms of what we call perimeter security. 2 years or before, the entire philosophy was, as long as you put a firewall properly and configure it properly, everything inside the firewall is safe. That's like perimeter security. Like everybody inside is trusted, everything inside is secure. Now, there are a couple of reasons